Moving to the UK was supposed to be the start of a new chapter, but no one told me how hard it is to find a job as a black immigrant. You spoke and I listened. Today we'll be talking about everything about getting a job in the United Kingdom as a black immigrant. And with me to discuss that is no other person than Esther. Esther has got a lot of things to share with us today. But before I say too much about Esther, let us even meet Esther. Esther, let my audience meet you, please.
Hi everyone, my name is Esther and I'm a finance professional working in the UK. I've been through the same struggles like every other black immigrant when trying to get a job in the UK, and I believe it's a pleasure for me to share my experiences of things and the tips of things that have worked for me. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Esther. We're so happy to have you here today to share from your wealth of experience. When I was planning to come to the UK, in short, when I got my visa, I actually came into the UK as a student, and I've shared my story on this channel before. But I remember that when I just got my visa, I started calculating, oh, how I'm going to make money in the United Kingdom, how much I'll make in a month. I was already super excited because I felt, okay, I'm going to be better off from than where I was coming from. So I was super excited. I started calculating. And then I came into the UK. I thought it was going to be super easy. People think, oh, it's really, really, it's difficult to get a job. Some people think it's easier. Like I thought it was going to be super, super easy. And I came into the UK, I started applying, and the United Kingdom said, "Welcome to the United Kingdom," because I was applying and I was not seeing anything. Of course, I had my own struggles, and there were some, factors that hindered me at the time. But I know that there are many blacks that actually struggle, and that's why I wanted to share. Like, why do you think that blacks struggle, or not just black, maybe immigrants? Why do you think they struggle to land skilled jobs in the United Kingdom? What can you say from your personal experience so that people can also like learn from you?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. I think that one of the things that makes us as black immigrants or as immigrants struggle, especially black immigrants, because here we're speaking about black immigrants. One of the major thing I believe is bias, and that is what we call like subtle bias.
Mhm.
Some people may refer to it like as discrimination, but what is generally most times called subtle bias, and that comes from employers most of the time. It doesn't relate to us. It doesn't relate to the applicants. Doesn't relate to us as immigrants. And sometimes it might be that they just feel like because you are black, you don't know how to communicate. You don't know how to speak English, even if they've not heard you speak. They
Mm,
think that you don't know how to speak English. They think that, oh, I don't think you'll be able to communicate well. I don't think you'll be able to fit into, that is like, I'm not saying that that's what they say to you, but that is all that contributes to the bias. That's what they think. That's how they feel. Like they have that thought, like, he or she doesn't know how to communicate, can't fit in, doesn't have the qualification. They have that, subtle bias, even though they haven't even heard you, they've not even given you a chance, is already there. The subtle bias is there. And
yeah.
most times,
Can I just cut you short? Sorry about this. So for the subtle bias now, these people have not seen you. So how does it come from? Is it from the fact that okay, they can see your name? Oh, this name doesn't sound familiar, so this person will definitely be a black person. Or how do they come up about this bias? Yeah.
yeah, so most times when they see your application, from
Hmm.
your name, they can tell that you're not English,
Yeah.
right? Your name is not rice. Your name is not beans. Your name is not soup. Your name is not. your name,
Just say that. Okay, your name doesn't sound English. It sounds very, very,
your name sounds awkward. Your name doesn't follow the rules of English. Combination of English vowels. Your name doesn't follow that combination. Your
Mhm.
English, yeah, you might have an English name that follows the combination, but your surname doesn't follow. Your surname is saying Oluwa something something. Your name is saying, you know,
Yeah,
your name is saying Akana something, and they are trying to when they find it difficult to pronounce your name, they already know that
yeah.
no, this is not English. This is not an English person, and that already contributes to the bias.
Okay.
Sometimes when they now see your qualification, they might feel like, oh, maybe this person is too qualified.
Right.
And maybe because your qualification is a foreign qualification, is not from the UK. Maybe you've gotten like your bachelor's degree in Nigeria, you've gotten your master's in Nigeria, you've gotten some other qualifications from Nigeria. And then you come here, you know, they just feel like that qualification is not enough
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's not in the UK. It doesn't relate to the UK. They feel like, ah, I don't think they do what we do here in the UK, my dear. Anything you're doing in the UK, we are doing it in Nigeria. The only difference is that we did it in Nigeria, you are doing it in the UK. But you know, that bias is there even though they haven't given you the chance. So
So, how many percent of
it's
employers do you think have
something.
this bias? Do you think it's like general, or it's just a few of them, or it's just, or you
Well,
really can't tell? Yeah. Okay.
well, to be honest, naturally it is going to be general, right? But because of the rules around, oh, you don't have to discriminate against people, you have to now start including it. Employers now has to start including it in their statements to say that
You should.
when they are trying to employ people to say that we are not going to discriminate against you based on race, based on so it's now they are technically trying to abide by the law and not discriminate, and so they try to give everyone a chance. But if they have the opportunity, they might not give some of us the chance, right? So, but because of that part of the law, part of the rules, they sort of pipe down on when they try to when that subtle bias wants to come in, they try to suppress it and manage it and not make it very, very obvious. That
Okay.
doesn't mean that they then employers don't employ black people. No, they do. But right now we're talking about how why people struggle. That's like the major or the first thing. That
Okay.
sort of bias is there already.
Okay.
Sometimes, it's they just feel like it's just like you can't communicate. She won't fit into our culture. She won't fit into the system. She'll
Yeah.
feel separated. She can't communicate with her customers. I've heard someone say that. An employer said to them, like, I don't think our customers will be able to hear what you're saying. Like they won't understand you.
That's not
You know,
fair.
so
Like,
yeah, they're
it's
trying to speak
really
about like the accent of the person. Like your
okay.
accent is not clear. Your accent is not slurred like our own. Your own is too, you know, the way you pronounce things are different. So that is like I've tried to explain. That's like one of the
Even
things.
in the UK,
Another
they
thing,
actually have, okay, go ahead. But even in the UK, they have different accent. Like I went to Scotland, a few months ago, and I could barely hear what the Scottish people were saying. Like, I'm like, excuse me. And then, so why, if you can employ somebody from, from Scotland, from Wales, from England, from Northern Ireland, why shouldn't you be able to employ a black person? Because we're all speaking English. Yeah.
well, you see, that part of the question is what I cannot answer very well because this is a public space,
Yeah.
and there's some things that you can't just stay in public space. But what I would say is that yes, the fact that there are all also other people from Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales that have like different accents and all of that, they still feel like all of them, or it is still obvious or known that all of them are in the same. They are still English.
Yeah.
They're still English. You're still from the English area. You're still from England.
Okay.
But those of us that obviously are not, we are from another planet,
So you have
technically.
to struggle among the few percentage to
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes, yes.
Thank you for that contribution. You were about to say something else as
Yes, I think I was also about to say that another thing after the subtle bias is going to be like our personal limitations. Sometimes we feel like, oh, I'm not enough. We feel like I'm not sure that I can fit in. You know, that lack of confidence as well. Sometimes it also relates to stories that we've heard. It relates to things that we've seen. It relates to you know experiences that we've also had. Maybe when you first came in and you applied for the first few jobs and you were hit with unfortunately, and you're like, you already feel like, "Ah, maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I can't do it."
yeah.
That's another reason why we struggle, because once you cannot encourage yourself, once you cannot push yourself, nobody can really push you. You have to be the driving force for yourself. So when you already have that personal limitation because of the things that you've experienced, it also contributes to it. It makes you to struggle. Even when you now decide to try to get a job, a skilled job, you would still sort of struggle. So yeah, those are things that I think contributes to Black
Yeah.
people
Thank you so
struggling.
much. Thank you for that brilliant contribution. Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
really a lot of sense. And I remember I was speaking to a colleague, a former colleague of mine from Nigeria who is now in the US, and she was just trying to ask
Mhm.
me questions, about CV and the current struggle she was facing. She just felt like maybe she's not good enough to get a job in the US. Like she said, she's currently doing an MBA, and most of our colleagues, white and the rest of them, have gotten
Mhm.
roles during the summer period. And she was like,
Mhm.
maybe there's nothing good enough about her. But this is someone that had over 6 years experience in Nigeria. She's worked in the financial accounting space, in the banking space, like in even as a business analyst, and she felt underqualified. Like she felt like
Wow.
she wouldn't be able to do it. I just told her that do not put a limitation on yourself. You can do it. I just had to encourage her that day, and this might be because okay, she's done a couple of interviews and she was not able to like, scale through, and we just had to start going through a couple of questions. I'm just feel like saying that most people, like you said, most people, after they've applied a few times and they couldn't get it, they don't feel you just feel defeated, like okay,
Yeah.
maybe I'm not good enough for this place, maybe I need to go back to my home country. But that's why we're doing this
Yeah.
video today. You don't have to go back to your home country. Please pay
Yeah.
attention. Watch this video to the very end because you're gonna be, you're gonna learn tips that can help to improve your competitive advantage even in the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
Because as someone who has kind of like changed jobs, by the grace of God, let me use that word, has changed jobs in the United Kingdom. I know you've applied to a couple of roles, and that's why I brought you here today. Because I mean, you've mastered the skill, you've cracked the code. So I would like to tell my audience, like, what do you think that employers are looking for when they want to like hire skilled immigrants? I mean, we're gonna get to the CV part, but what do you think that can help you, scale through that bias, like you mentioned? I mean, congratulations, you'll be able to scale through that bias, and because you're actually working as a finance professional in the United Kingdom. So, what do you think that employers are looking out for that could make them look beyond the black name that you're bearing, beyond your skin color? They can say, okay, I want to invite you for an interview. What do you think that they're actually looking for?
Thank you very much for that question. I think for me, the first thing would be self confidence. Building up from what we have said when we started. Self confidence is very, very important. You need to be confident in yourself. You need to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, even if you have the experience, even if you have the qualifications, you might not be able to present yourself properly. You might not be able to, express that experience before your interviewer if you get to the interview stage. So the first major thing I would say is self-confidence. In the UK, they are very big on experience more than qualifications. Yes, you might have qualifications, but they really really want to see the experience. They want the hands-on experience, know that you have done it before. Because, like we all know, theory is different from practical.
Mm-hmm.
Qualification is theory, experience is practical. So they really, really want practical. So you need to be able to show them that you have been able to practicalize these things that you're saying, these things that they want someone to do. You have done the practical. So self belief, self confidence is number one for me. Number two would be that once you have been able to build yourself and you are able to, encourage yourself and, you know, you are self confident, then draw up a plan of the kind of job that you want. What do you want to do? What's the job you want? You want to be a data analyst. You want to be a digital marketer. You want to be a finance person. You want to be, whatever it is, whatever role it is, draw up a plan, name the role, do your research, find out about that role. What are the qualifications they need in the UK for people that have or that want to do this role? What are the qualifications that you need? What are the skills you need? What are the kind of experiences? What are the levels? And then coming into the UK, sometimes, because we are coming from Nigeria, you might have been on a very top role, maybe like you being like a professional, a very
Sure.
heightened professional. And then you come into the UK, you can't expect many of the times to go into that same level in the UK. So you should be willing to go maybe a step lower depending on the area or the professional line that you are in. Maybe, for instance, you're a finance person, and maybe in Nigeria, you're a finance example, you're a finance officer or you're a finance manager in Nigeria. So coming here, especially when it's the first job that you're trying to get in the UK, you can maybe like start from like finance assistant or finance technician role. You know, I'm giving an example now. Finance
Yeah.
technician or finance assistant role. The reason why you are starting from there is not because you don't know the things to do as a finance manager. Of course, you know what to do. It's almost the same thing. It's just the terms and the terminologies that might be different. How they say things here might be different from the way we say things in Nigeria. And the cultural fit might also be different. The cultural ways might be different. But technically, everything, the basics are the same thing. So if you start as a finance assistant, for instance, there is no my understanding or how I believe it or how I look at it. If you start as a finance assistant or technician, how I say it is you're coming in at a lower level. There is no pressure on you. As a finance assistant, as a finance technician, there is no pressure on you to deliver on very big tasks and deadlines and all of that. You're coming in to learn. So now, coming in as a finance technician, you're not coming in to come and be delivering reports and be presenting the reports to the board. No, nobody's going to ask you to come and present reports to the board, you know. But if you come in as a finance manager, maybe when you start 1 or 2 months later, they can tell you to start presenting reports. Why is this not that? And you're just still even trying to understand the, nitty-gritty and all of that. They expect you to come in, hit the ground running, and start
Yeah.
delivering. So
Yeah.
if you come in at a lower, that's the way I look at it, and that's how it works for me. Coming at a lower level, right? It's not like you don't know the things that the finance manager will do or the finance manager is doing. You know it. But then what I do is come in as a finance technician and watch how things are done. Get my own stuff done. The pressure on me is not so much. I ask questions like, okay, so I asked the finance manager, why do you do things like this? This is the way I understand it is being done. This is how I know that we used to do it. But tell me why it's different here and why and how it is different and what is the reason for it being different. What is the things that you look at? That way, I'm a finance technician, but I'm learning how the finance manager works, how the finance manager does his or her own things here. And technically, I'm learning how it is done in the UK. So, when after a few months, and I'm confident in what I'm doing, and I'm confident that I know how it works here, I apply for more like higher roles. I can go for like finance officer roles or finance manager roles, and then I cement it with my UK
Continue growing.
experience as a
Yeah.
finance assistant. So going into it, I already know how things are done because I've stayed on the ground and I've watched how things are done. And then when I get to finance manager role, I would not really struggle because I've understood how it works, how things work, because I've asked questions from the finance manager in the UK. So that's the way I see it. So majorly, if you draw up a plan and look at the levels, you can then decide, oh, what level might be best for me to go in. And then for a finance manager who is coming into the UK, for instance, and trying to apply for a finance assistant role, example, yes, you've done finance manager roles, but when you are applying for finance assistant roles, you have to like step down your CV. I'm not saying that you should lie. You don't need to lie, but you don't need to now put that you have been a finance manager. You can just tweak the name, the title that you had to make it, balance with what you're applying for in the UK. You can tweak it to like maybe like finance officer. If you are going from finance manager down to finance assistant, they feel like you're overqualified. But if you are
Mm.
going from like finance officer, because finance officer most times is like one step higher than finance assistant.
Okay. Yeah.
But finance manager is like 2 steps higher than finance assistant. Sure, you understand? So if you, for instance, are going from a finance manager to a finance assistant, it might just be good to just tweak the title that you had back in Nigeria to finance officer, you know, and then put the things that you have done. But then when you are also applying, try to tailor your CV
You're
to the
about to
thing.
the next
Yeah,
question.
try to tailor try to tailor your CV to the application. So like I can go into details in your next question, like I've just mentioned. But tailoring the CV as well is also a very important one. And to be honest, to get a job is not very easy. Did I say very easy? It's not easy. It's not even easy at all at all.
It's a full-time job.
Yes, it is. And to be honest, it is not for the weak. Like we always say, it is not for the weak. So that's why the first thing you need is that your self confidence. You need to encourage yourself and be confident in yourself that I can do this. I can get a job. If other people are getting jobs, I can get a job. The truth is that there is no setting stone on the time when you will get a job, but you must not give up. That's another thing. Very important. Don't give up. No matter the rejections, no matter the unfortunately, don't give up.
Yeah.
There,
Thank
there's going
you.
to be one congratulations. And sometimes the one congratulations can come after 999, unfortunately. So if you gave up on the 599, unfortunately, you won't be able to get that one congratulations.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
why you don't give up. So I would say, as a black immigrant, as a black person, you are very resilient. You are powerful, more powerful than you know. You are very, very powerful. You've got power. You know when they say we have black power, like black people have power. We do have that power. We do have that power. The most important thing is for us to be confident. Once you're confident, right, you would you would excel. That's just the truth. You would excel. Yes, don't give up. Don't give up. Keep
Thank you,
applying.
thank you, thank
Keep
you. Let
applying.
me cut you here. Let me cut you here. Thank you so much. It's just you're already touching on all my questions. Let me just like confirm what you just said, especially the confidence part. And I think most interviewers here, like the interview process here, I think there's usually the HR call. HR is just there's always the HR call, maybe like a phone call. They just want to like hear your voice, like hear how you speak, and know whether they should like extend you the interview invite. So the how you answer your phone then, like if you sound really shaky, like you don't know what you are saying, they can just say this person is not like this is not the person we want. So your confidence level must be on the high level, and that's what SI is saying. So you need to pay attention to that. And also about the experience, if you don't want to like, um go a step lower, what you can do is internship, right? Maybe if you came in as a student, if you have the opportunity of maybe summer internship, go and intern somewhere, at least get that UK experience that you can actually use to, get a proper job. So, like Esther said, be willing to go a step lower, also be willing to, you know, go for even if it's volunteering roles. These are opportunity for you to build your UK experience, understand the UK market, understand the cultural level, because you don't want to be in a situation where you enter into the workplace, you are hit with high targets and you are struggling on the job, and then you end up losing the same job that you struggled to get, right? So you don't want a short-lived testimony. So do the right thing, get internship, go a step lower, make sure that you are actually getting that experience, understanding what it requires, what your role requires, so that you can deliver on the job. And Esther already started touching on the next question, which is what I want to talk about, like the best structure of your CV. What's the best way to structure your CV? So maybe go ahead of putting their address, putting their irrelevant to your date of birth. What is the best way to structure your CV? Because I remember I applied for a role when I just came in, and I thought, oh, I was going to get this job because I had like 5 years experience from Nigeria. Oh, they're going to give me, it was a finance assistant role, and I applied, and the first thing I got, boom, unfortunately. So, like, how do you structure your CV? I know I had to do a couple of things before I finally got it right. So, Esther, just shed more light on that so that people can like learn from it.
Okay, thank you very much. I think the first thing and the most important thing for your CV is going to be making sure that your CV is well structured.
Mhm.
Having a clear CV that is well structured as well. Like you mentioned, having your address is not important. No, you don't need to put your address on the CV. You don't need to put your date of birth or where you are from or your religion. You don't need all of that. I think like a simple format I would say is that on the top page of uh, the top page, just have like your contact information. We should have like your name, your email address, your phone number,
Yeah.
your LinkedIn profile, very important
Mhm.
because that's what they will do once they see a CV. They just check that name on LinkedIn. To put your LinkedIn profile link or what's it called URL on it, and then just your location is fine. For instance, London, UK, or Birmingham, UK. You don't have to put your full address with your postcode. Nobody needs that. To be honest, you don't need that. Just put like the location, general location, Manchester, UK. You know, yeah, that's like the major thing I think you need for the contact information. And then after that, the last line item you need is like the next line item would be like a professional summary or a personal summary that summarizes you, your experience, your skills, like in one or two sentences. I am an experienced data analyst with 5 years working experience, and proficiency in SQL, Python, blah, blah, blah. I'm looking to work in organizations that, would progress my career, just
What you
a
bring to
simple
the table,
summary.
bringing this to the table, you
Yeah,
talk about that. Yeah.
what you're going to bring in. So it's just like a summary.
Yes.
It's a very professional summary that is short as well, that sells you very catchy. And I think after that, the next thing would be like bullet points of your key skills.
Very
You
important.
know, yeah, bullet points of your key skills. And those bullet points may be like 6 or 8, depending on, the kind of
Okay.
profession that you are applying for. Communication skills, organizational skills. If it's finance, for instance, financial analysis, budgeting, treasury, you put them there. The use of softwares, if it's marketing, all those key skills that are very important. That's why when you are trying to research, you've already researched, these key skills, whether you have those skills or not. You've tried to improve yourself to get those skills. If you need to get them online, if you need to, some of these skills are transferable skills that you can even pick from the job that you're currently doing, even if it's not a skilled job, even if it's not in the career path that you want to go.
Yeah.
But transferable skills as well are very important. Even though you are doing a care job at the moment, there are transferable skills from care, from support that you can transfer to this,
Yeah.
to the skilled job. So you put them as your key skills under the key points for your bullet points for your key skills. And then after that, you can put your work experience and try as much as possible to not have gaps in your work experience. That's what I would advise. Because if, for instance, you put in your work experience that you worked in 2020, for example, now you worked from 2021 to 2023 in a company, maybe in Nigeria, and then from 2023 to 2025, there's nothing. It sends a wrong signal. It doesn't, they would not really, it looks like you're not currently, active. It already tells a story that you're not active, you're not currently doing something. So you need to fill that gap. You need to fill that gap. You can fill that gap maybe like part-time jobs. It can even be with current job that you're doing, but you just try to fine tune it, and try to make it relevant to what you're currently applying for. And sometimes it might be that you need to volunteer, get a volunteering role, in what you're doing, or with any charity, just get volunteering. There are many volunteering jobs. Just get a volunteering job and volunteer your time with them, maybe 2 or 3 hours a week, maybe 4 or 5 hours a week. And then you put that volunteering role on your CV as a job experience as well. So that helps you. Most importantly, try to fill every gap and make sure that there's no gap like 3 years between the last 3 years or 4 years of your career. Let there be no gap. Like for instance, you are applying from 2020, if you're applying in 2025, so from 2025 to like 2021, try to make sure that there is no gap in your jobs and all of that. Try to fill up those gaps and make sure that those gaps had relevant things that you were doing. You might not want to put those things in your CV, but think about them properly, fine tune them, make them fit. It might be that you were studying, you were doing something, you were doing vocational stuff. Try to, package it well. You know how you package it well. Put it, all these things need English. You were doing tailor work before. It's fashion design. Put it there. What are transferable skills that you need? And yeah, so there are ways to do all of these things as well. And after that, after the work experience part, you can put your education, um your study, your education here, and then after that you don't need to put primary school or secondary school, your bachelor's degree and higher degrees, maybe bachelor's degree, master's degree, Those ones are okay. You don't need to put your secondary school WAEC or whatever. You don't need all of that. Then I think the next thing would be your other
So
qualifications, maybe like if you have certifications, if you have trainings, if you have like other languages that you speak, you can decide to put them. Then any other thing that you think, maybe hobbies sometimes, you can put your hobbies as well,
I think like
traveling,
people talk about
reading.
hobbies that can be a bit biased, or some people can be biased based on your hobbies sometimes.
Well, I would say that you should be also selective about the kind of hobbies that you put. You don't want to put
Exactly.
hobbies that would, you know,
Watching,
that send a wrong signal.
yeah,
Watching movies, I would say that don't put it. Most likely just put traveling,
yeah,
meeting new people,
yeah,
meeting new people, because every time you meet people in the UK here, you always, as an immigrant, you meet new people. You have people that you have to ask questions. When you go outside, you have to ask a question. You Once you see somebody else, you ask them, please, I'm going here. Do you have an idea of where this is? That is you already meeting people. So you can put
yeah,
it as a hobby. Traveling as well. You always have to go from one place to the other. It could be you traveling to work. You are already traveling, so you can put that as a hobby. Reading as well, you always have to read the rules and regulation when new laws comes out, when there are updates to laws. You always have to read, so it's already part of it. So you can just put like those hobbies that are relevant, I would say. Yeah,
yeah,
that's majorly what I
yeah.
think.
Thank you, thank you. That's an excellent way to structure your CV, right? And she's
Mm.
giving you all that for free, right? And I remember I had to go to our school career session to ask them to like go through my CV because I've chopped enough opportunities and I was tired of it. So I had to meet someone to like go through my CV. So if you're a student and you have like a career, what's it called now, a career session, a career team that are there to like support you with your career. They can advise you, so you can make use of them. Let them help you like look at your CV, things that you need to remove, and how to structure it. But Esther has given like an excellent way to structure your CV, and time will not permit us to give you how to leverage AI, to structure your CV in the right way. Maybe I'll do another video on that. But once you are able to get your CV right, I think yeah, one step closer to getting a job in the UK, right? Esther? Because I
Yeah,
think the number one factor that that affects people, that kind of like poses a hindrance to getting a job in the UK, just CV, like because you can apply to 1,000 jobs and you'll not get called for an interview. But once you're able to get your CV right, you have the right important keywords. I think you'll be able to bypass the ATS system that like scans, your CV and gives you like an appropriate score. And there are several sites online that you can go and upload your CV and give you like a score. I remember Esther, you actually, recommended a site for me that I had to, go and put my CV to give me a score. And they told me you do not have like one of the things they told me was quite shocking. Like they said, you seem to be a doer and not a leader or something like that. There were no action words in my CV. Like I was not putting the right, action verbs, and I had to go and rewrite the whole CV. So you can go online, look for, sites where you can upload your CV, where they can review it. ChatGPT can help you, make sure that your CV is well packaged because without that CV, there's no interview, especially if you're looking for skilled jobs. In the funny thing about the UK is that if you're looking for skilled jobs, you have to sweat it out. Like Esther said, it's not easy. You would, I was speaking to somebody lately and she was like, she's already giving up. And I said that don't give up. Like Esther said, you are one phone call away. You are one, answer away from getting that dream job. So keep putting in the right skills, keep, restructuring and be ready to, revamp your CV till you get that, start getting that interviews. And the moment you start getting interviews, just know that your CV is right. So it will now be how to scale through those interviews to move to the next stage. So Esther, I want to ask you, what were the biggest surprises you got in the UK job market? Maybe the good ones, the bad ones. I'm going to start by sharing my own experience, and that's the fact that you can travel across cities for an interview and you may still not get the job. I remember a couple of months, I think almost a year now, somebody, shared a link for a job that, oh, if you go there, you're going to get visa sponsorship. People were rushing, like, we need to go, we traveled, like, going there, we were prepared to spend hours there. And then by the time we got there, they're like, they're not going to interview anybody. I'm like, how is this even possible? Like, why would you do that to me? So people can go, at any length and breadth just to get a job in the UK. And I think that was one of the major surprises that I got. And then some other fun interview questions that I got in my career journey, but I'm not going to share that today. So Esther, what about you? What are your biggest surprises?
Okay. Well, I think one of the biggest surprises would be the fact that you can be very experienced from your home country, but coming into the UK, you are like you are clueless. Let me put it that way. Like you don't know what's going on because even with your experience, when you apply for jobs, you like you're not called. Like they don't call you. You're not you're not called. Your application doesn't scale through, not talk of even being called for interviews. You can come with all the skills and know what you're doing from your home country and come in here. You just feel like somebody that you begin to doubt yourself and you begin to think that maybe I wasn't like doing the right thing for my home country. Maybe my country is not okay. Maybe just keep doubting yourself, and then it's the fact that the UK market makes your job market makes you to second guess yourself. I think
Mm,
that's like a very big one for me. I know back home you'd apply for jobs, right? You would get interviews, but the most important thing is being able to scale through the interviews
yeah.
because there was competition. There's a kind of level that they are looking for. So you're not sure if you would get to that level. You don't know what you would, expect. I think another surprise would be that when you get to interviews, sometimes it's not as hard as you think it would be. The interviews here are not as difficult and tense as it is back home in Nigeria. You know, you can actually, if you have the experience, to be honest, you can go to an interview even without preparing too much. You just need to know how to, you just need to comport yourself for the interview because they'll try to make you feel at home, make you feel calm and all of that. So there is no tension. But back home, especially in Nigeria, when you're going for interview like this, you'll be sweating already. Your suit, you
That's
have to
true.
wear suit, dress corporate and all of that. But here, nobody's really all about how you dress. Of course, you need to dress well. You shouldn't be shabby. But no one is saying you must compulsorily wear a suit.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
just dress here, dress comfortably and neatly and, be professional. You don't have to wear a suit. A guy doesn't have to wear a suit. I think I'll share an experience. I was where one of the places where I worked. We were trying to fill up a role, so we were trying to interview candidates for the role, and we had people coming, and some of them like were they dressed normally, but there was this particular guy, the black guy, of course, he's from Nigeria. He was I'm sure he wore his most expensive suit. He wore his shoe, but truthfully, he was properly dressed. But guess the comment I that my colleagues gave. The comment was like he dressed too expensive for the room. Like
Oh.
his dressing was too expensive for the role, and they tried to classify like his wristwatch was a Rolex wristwatch, and they are sure that it's cost and blah blah blah. His shoes, those shoes were not cheap shoes. That suit, they tried to classify everything, and technically, even though he was experienced, he now became like over experienced for the job, expensive for the job. So there were no now other things that they sort of used to disqualify him. Like they were not 100% happy with some things because he looked so expensive for the job. He looked like he was the boss.
Who would have thought that your dressing would be the one to disqualify you? Yeah, yeah.
That day I felt so bad for him. Like I was like, God, if you had known that just one shirt and trouser and just come, eh? I felt so bad for him that day, but it is what it is. That there's nothing we can do. Um, I think another thing would be the fact that when you send like an application, just as you are some of the applications, as you're pressing apply, you are getting unfortunately immediately. Like, and sometimes you're wondering, like, I've not even finished
Oh my
applying for the
God.
job. How am I getting unfortunate? You've not checked my application. Like, it's automatic sometimes. And sometimes you apply for jobs and you've forgotten about the job. You've even forgotten about the company or what you applied for. And 10 months later, They are sending you. Unfortunately, we have decided to move. And I'm like, please, when did I apply for this one? What do you
Exactly.
people even do? You know? So the variation in the times where they respond to you and reply to you. And I think another problem as well, or one surprise as well, is also the fact that you don't get feedback most times on your application. When you apply for a job, they just tell you, unfortunately, we have decided to not progress with your application, or they
Is
just say,
that the line?
unfortunately, we have decided to go with another candidate, or
Why?
unfortunately, we are not continuing with you or application. They just give you that general, like this, there's no feedback to say, oh, this is why we are not continuing. This is even sometimes, even when you get to the interview stage as well, that's just the general answer that you get. You don't get feedback like why or what you did, or
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah, I think that that's happened to me as well. Like I think we need to be mindful that the fact that you've gotten to the third stage of the interview does not mean you will get, like in Nigeria, you think, okay, if I got in the third stage, most likely I might get the job, or maybe I'm just a thin line between me and who will get the job. But you can get to the third stage. Like I got to the third stage of an interview, I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna get this job. And I thought I really answered the right question, but unfortunately, I didn't get the job. I did not get a feedback. And that was so demoralizing. That actually broke my spirit more. Like, it was it that I wasn't good enough. I didn't say the right things. That was
yeah.
really bad. But I think that was one of the jobs that I applied to. And I really appreciate them. They gave me feedback, and that was the feedback that gave me the
So,
like
yeah.
edge, because they told me that I answered well, but maybe I wasn't as elaborate as they wanted, and that was when I knew that the next time I'm going to go for an interview, I'm going to give them enough examples, make sure that I make it really really clear. And the next interview I went for, I got the job. So I think that yes, that is very important. Having feedback too. Sometimes you can send them an email for feedback, but not many of them would actually give you feedback, which kind of like doesn't help you progress that much, because you don't know what you're doing wrong that you need to
Yeah.
try. But one thing I've incorporated into my own interviews is that when there are opportunities for you to ask questions, this one I always ask this question. Is like, based on our conversation today, is there anything about our discussion, that you feel like that I need to put more clarity, or that would make me to stand a chance of being a better candidate, or that will make that might also, there's a way I structured. I can't really remember the exact question, but I would say, based on our conversation today, is there anything that would hinder me from being an appropriate candidate for this role? And that is the opportunity to get feedback about what the interview feels like about you. So there's a way you can structure your question, your last question, to make sure that you are hearing what the interview thinks about you. Maybe there are areas of concern that you have not addressed. And when they give you that feedback, that is your opportunity to address that part to make you sound like a suitable candidate for the role. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's what has, worked for me, that I usually do. So
Yeah.
that's really good. Thank you so much, Esther. And for the last session, I think I want you to give us your last words. What has worked for you? What do you want to tell a Black immigrant out there that is struggling, thinking, "Oh, maybe the UK market is not for me. Maybe I won't get a good job. Maybe my skills are not needed." What do you have to say to them? I mean, so, coming from you, that is a finance professional, what do you have to say?
So, the last few words I'll just say is, for anybody that is trying to get a job, number one, don't give up.
Hmm.
Don't give up. Encourage yourself. When you find yourself, being feeling demoralized, feeling down, don't give up. Pat yourself on the back, and tell yourself that I need to get up and continue. I need to keep running. Think of it as a marathon or as a relay race. You are running. If you stop on the track, other people will run past you and they will get to the finish line before you. But even if you're tired and you just keep going and you just keep telling yourself one more step, one more step, one more step, one more step. Even if you're not the first person to get to the line, you'll still get to the line
Mm-hmm.
and you would get a prize. But if you stop, you would not get to the finish line. If you stop, the race ends where you stop. But if you keep going and just keep telling yourself one more step, one more step, one more step, you would eventually get to the finish line and you get a prize. And so I'll just say that most importantly, don't give up. The road is rough. The road is rough. To be honest, it is rough. But if you don't give up, You'll be able to come out of the rough road to the smoother road. That is one thing I would say. Another thing I would say is that improve yourself. Now, the first thing is don't give up. And because you have decided not to give up, invest in yourself, improve yourself. Make, make the most of this time of this period where you're getting the rejections. Like we've discussed, try to get feedbacks. If there are applications, try to if there are applications that gives you feedback, or if you get to the interview stage, for instance, try to get feedback. Let's even start from the application stage. If you try to apply for jobs and all the jobs you're applying for, you're getting, unfortunately, you're getting rejections, because the truth is that you will get rejections. Let's not come here and say that they will
Yeah.
reject you. You will get the job immediately. That's a lie. You will be rejected. Like
Yeah.
you will get rejections. But look at those rejections as the things that will make you stronger. They would improve you. They will help you to get better. Now, if you get rejections, try to look at your CV. Like, is my CV not tailored enough? Try to tweak your CV, adjust your CV. Put out your CV. Send your CVs to agencies. I think that was one of the things I did then. I sent my CVs to agencies. I'll tweak my CV, send it out. When agencies post jobs, I'll apply through those agencies. Those agents will call me. So when the agents were calling me, I realized that I think I'm doing something better with my CV.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
previously, when I was applying my CV, even to those agents, they won't call me. But I started tweaking and adjusting my CV, researching, trying to adjust it, tweak it, and I was apply to jobs. They would call me, and then they would have conversations with me and ask questions, and I would, answer their questions. We'll have like phone interviews. There were times I was having back-to-back interviews, phone interviews with agencies, like agents, recruitment agents.
Yeah.
They were very impressed, and they were like, "Oh, I'll put you forward to this client. I'll put you forward to this client." But some of the times when they put me forward to the client, I go for the interview. By the time I'm done, the interview panel or something, they would have one feedback or the other. So because I was going through agents, I was able to get feedbacks, especially because they would give the feedback to the agent. And then if I don't get to hear from the agent will, I'll call them to ask that, okay, I wanted to find out about this interview. And the agents will obviously give me feedback. I'll ask them, okay, what did they say? Why did they say they are not going to go ahead? What do I try to get that feedback from them. So from my experience with recruitment agents, I would say that use them as a stepping stone to improve yourself. Don't
Yeah.
don't rely on the fact that you're going to get jobs through recruitment agencies. You might not get a job through them, but use them as a stepping stone to get feedbacks. Because in the UK, it's very difficult to get feedbacks. You just get, unfortunately, and that's all. Move on. Unfortunately. So these days, most of the times when we're trying to apply for jobs, once you just look for the first letter. Once you see unfortunately, you don't even need to read the remaining again, because unfortunately is the beginning
Thank
of
you
the
for
sentence.
when they say thank you for and it's not congratulations, it's definitely unfortunately.
Exactly. So you just move on. So many times we don't even bother to read the remaining parts. We know what they are saying. They are saying they are not, move on. So I would say that for you to be able to get feedback, if you use recruitment agencies, you'll be able to get feedbacks,
Okay.
especially from them, and build a good rapport, good relationship with those agents. Be nice people liked. Another thing I would say is that while you're in this waiting season trying to get a job, you're applying and all of that, improve your skills, get those key skills, those ones that you don't have yet, try to get them online, improve yourself, volunteer, try to, get those jobs as those volunteering jobs and get those skills. Make sure you focus on those skills and be sure that you have those skills. Don't lie about your skills. Don't lie. If you don't have that skill, go and try to improve it. Try to, if it's communication skills, try to communicate. Try, check online, you see communication courses, you see different kind of courses. Some of them are free, so many of them are free. You can, check for those ones, check on LinkedIn Learning. You'll find some of those courses as well. And another thing I would say is that while you're also in this waiting season, try to learn about the culture. I'm not saying that you should learn how to speak like a British person. It's not necessary. Speak like a Nigerian, like a proper Nigerian, right?
Or an
Even though,
wherever country you're from. Yeah.
yeah, speak the way you would normally speak. You are speaking English. Just make sure that you are clear enough. Speak clearly. Pronounce, sometimes you might have to slow down when you're speaking so that they can hear you. so that you can understand what you're saying, so that you can grasp what you're saying, you might need to slow down because sometimes when we're talking fast.
Yeah, I think so.
They cannot understand what we're saying.
Mhm.
Just the same way they talk and they talk fast and we cannot understand what they're saying, but that's how it sounds to them as well. It sounds like we're speaking gibberish, blah, 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 blah. So sometimes you need to slow down, but just make sure that you are clear. Check online, you will see the way they pronounce their words. So try to speak clearly. Be clear in your words. Sometimes you need to slow down when you're speaking so that they can hear what you're saying. What they need to hear is the words that you are saying and the way your sentence. They need to understand what you're saying. So you need to be clear and speak slowly sometimes. And then try to get confirmation if they understand what you're saying. There are ways that they speak, there are slangs that they use. Like now, in here, they don't say no. When
Yeah.
you ask the question, you don't get them to say no. They don't say no. Instead of saying no, they will say, for instance, they will say can do. There are other ways they say no.
Yeah.
And you'll be like, we will be like, go straight to the point and just tell me no. But
Exactly.
they don't say no. So now imagine you have gotten a job and you are now in the organization and they ask you a question or you are with your colleagues and you are always saying no, no, no. So they'll feel like, where is this one from? There
Yeah.
will be like a kind of
They'll be
be-
withdrawing.
yeah, there will be like a withdrawal and it seems like you don't fit. So now does it mean that you have to speak like them? No. Learn how learn the things that they say so that you are not saying the wrong things. There are some things that we say that mean something else to them. For instance, the very common one is like, you know, we'll say for medications, we usually say drugs, right? They would say medicines or medication. So imagine now you are speaking to someone like black to black, you're speaking to someone and you say, have you taken your drug? You know, if a British person is passing by, they think that is cocaine that you are talking about, or marijuana, or all those drugs, like hard drugs. But they don't they did not know, they would not understand that you're speaking about medications. So
Yeah.
our use of words is very different. There are some words that we use that mean other things to them. So that's what I'm trying to say. Try to learn those words and know when to use them and when not to use them. So that you're not sounding offensive to
Yeah.
people. You're
Yeah.
not sounding offensive in the workplace. So that you can sort of culturally fit. They are very polite. They like to be polite, even when they are not happy. Even if they're angry with you, they'll still be polite with you. They'll still say thank you. They'll still say, can you do this? Even if it is grudgingly, they'll say, can you are you happy to help with this? Are you happy, to do this? But we can just say, please go and do. Can just say, go and do this, go and do that. But they would ask you, are you happy? The fact that they said, are you happy, does not mean they're asking for your opinion
Oh,
of
yeah.
yes or no. They are telling you indirectly that you need to do this. But the
Yeah.
way they present to you is, are you happy?
Yeah.
So those are the things I need to learn how to um say or learn when to say them and the right times. And that is one thing for someone, for instance, that is coming in from Nigeria and coming in as a manager. When you are coming at that point, the pressure on you is high. You're coming from a different culture. And then if you don't know how they relate with their staffs, they might feel like you are bossy on them. Like
Ah.
if you're a senior staff and you come in and say, go and do this, go and do that, they'll feel like you are bossy and they can report you for mental health um issues and all of that you are causing them anxiety, the way you speak, you're not respectful. you know Now you have tried to get a job, you now maybe lose the job because you do not fit culturally. So now I'm not asking you to go and eat bacon and baked beans and and tea.
English breakfast.
You can eat your normal food,
Coffee.
but what I'm just trying to say is that understand the culture, be culture aware.
Culturally aware, yeah.
Yeah, be culturally aware. Check online. Yeah, you will see people that do videos on YouTube on different platforms telling you what the British culture is about, what they say, what they don't say, how they say it,
And
you
what they
know,
mean.
and what they mean, so
Yeah.
that you know when to use those words and when not to use it, because you don't want to be talking and every time you're saying sorry, 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 sorry. They don't say sorry for anything. It's only if you have done something wrong that you say sorry. So now somebody, for instance, we now, if somebody is walking and person hits his leg on something, his or her leg on something, we don't say, sorry, oh. You don't say that here. You just
Why
ask the person, are you okay?
you say about? Are you okay?
So if you are saying sorry, the person will ask you that,
It's
what
not your
did you do?
fault. Don't say
It's
sorry.
not your fault. Like, that's the next question. That's the question they'll ask. Like, it's not your fault. Why are you saying sorry? So they'll, and now imagine if you are always now saying sorry, sorry, sorry for different things. People now begin to gossip like, what's wrong with this one's always saying. So you don't want to also put yourself in a wrong spotlight. So I'll say that in this waiting season, learn what the culture is like in workplace, everywhere. Learn the please, the thank you, the sorry when it's necessary, right?
Yeah.
When you do something wrong, when you should say sorry, and not the unnecessary sorry that we usually say. So the please, the thank you. Somebody does something for you, thank you. Their thank you is like water. The way we will say our sorry for different things is the way they say their thank you for anything. Somebody waits for you, you're coming, and someone just waits for you to come. Oh, thank you. That's all. You don't. It doesn't really mean that they like you. That they said thank you. Now another thing is also the fact that they smile. They smile a lot. It doesn't mean that they like you. The fact that somebody is smiling at you doesn't mean that the person is your friend. So try to be discerning. Even though everyone is smiling at you, you're smiling at each other, you're asking each other, how are you? How is the weather? How is your family? It doesn't mean that you open the chapter of all your life or your family in front of them. Another thing I would say is the fact that learn from feedbacks. Whatever feedbacks you get, learn from them. Try to improve yourself. Try to be a better person. Work on yourself to be a better person. Don't try to be like any other person. Be yourself. In whatever you do, be yourself. Be confident, be yourself. And don't give up. Keep pushing, keep pressing. And when you're in a job, please don't sit down on that job. Don't sit down in one place. That's what I would say. Try to, advance. If you come in, for instance, you pick up a finance assistant role, don't sit down on that job. Aim for the next level. Few months down the line, 1 year down the line. The most important thing is that you have the UK experience. Once you have the UK experience, you can begin to move, like you can begin to skyrocket. The most important thing is having the experience in the UK. Once you get that experience, you are able to move up the ladder, apply for higher roles, increase your stake, and move up until you get to the top. And I would say, don't settle for less. You can start from the bottom, but please don't stay there. Move up. Yeah, that's majorly it.
Thank you. Thank you, Esther. That was a brilliant session. Brilliant, last words. I'm sure you guys have learned it too. Thank you for watching this video to the very end. If you have any feedbacks, please put that in the comment section. We'll be there reading. And if you want us to shed more light on interview tips or going deeper into how to structure your CV or understanding the UK job market, feel free to put that in the comment section. We'll do more videos on that. Thank you for watching to the very end. See you in my next video. Bye.